guys, thanks for joining me. It's Stephen Colon with Colon and Villaplana. I'm here today to go over the steps that a potential buyer or seller, for that matter, goes through when they first contact and have their first meeting with a realtor. And I have our friends here at Motivated Access Realty. Let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Hipólito Rosario, and I'm the owner, CFO, and broker of Motivated Access Realty. And I'm here to tell you more about how we work with buyers and sellers in the buying or selling process.
Hi, I'm Dolphy Curiel, and I'm the executive assistant in Motivated Access Realty.
Great. So, guys, you get a phone call from a prospective client. Let's go with buyers first. What's that conversation usually like?
Okay, so when it comes to buyers, we usually get a phone call from Zillow, for example, and they're looking at a property online, and Zillow, I think sometimes it comes in handy because when the buyer's calling, they already match to a property of their liking.
Okay.
So we pick up the phone and we say, hey, we are Motivated Access Realty, and we can help you buy this home. We proceed with asking the buyer for an approval. Sometimes we also ask for approval of funds because sometimes someone is buying with 3% down, or they may be buying with 20% down. It's good to understand how the loan works because that will come in handy when we get to the offer process. And how a strong offer could be depends on how much someone is putting down, how their credit is, and what they qualify for. So I pick up the phone. We set up an appointment. We usually schedule an appointment to show the property. And sometimes Dolphy is the one looking online for the house and everything that matches what the client wants. And I'm gonna let her speak about that. Okay.
Okay. So that's a great point. So the Zillow is one of the places you might get some clients from. Now, what happens when the client calls you and that property is not available? What's some of the things that you may do to help them find a property that's similar?
If the property is not available, then we got to move forward to looking for another one based on what their wants and needs are. Let's say they want a brick home, they want a 2-family, or they want a single-family home. They want a parking. There's houses that they have everything that they want, but let's say they don't have a basement, and a basement is a requirement for them. So those are the little details that I got to pay attention to as far as finding a home to our clients.
That's a good point, and it actually makes more sense too, even if that home is available, probably to get their wants and desires to see more homes in one day.
Definitely.
Because how many people do you experience bid on that first home they contact you with?
We have, I'll say this, what happens is also with the buyer is that you have to educate them also. So when they see the property on Zillow, they're not necessarily checking for this. They are not necessarily checking, okay, does he actually have a basement? They just look at pictures.
Right.
So they don't really know if he has a basement. And I encounter other things also. Apart from the physical structure of the house, there are other things. It may have a violation. There might be something with the title of the property. There might be something also something that you cannot see that is not on Zillow. Zillow can't really present all information, which is why I think that every buyer needs a broker.
Right.
I think every buyer needs a broker because the broker has the experience. The broker knows what the house has and it doesn't have, and even beyond Zillow. What is out there that we know about the property, that is something that you cannot see online when you first click.
So now that's a great point. So every buyer needs their own agent. Can you explain to the audience what happens if a buyer doesn't have their own agent and reaches out to a seller's agent?
Okay. For the most part, and I have to say this because I'm also a seller's agent most of the time, right? So in my career, I recently became like a seller's agent. I'm working with a lot of sellers. But the truth is, if someone reaches out to me, I work for the seller, and I have to get the highest and best offer that I can get. What happens when you have a buyer's agent is that your buyer's agent is negotiating on your favor.
Right.
He does work with me and with the seller, but at the same time, he's looking out for the buyer side. While me as a listing agent, I have to look out for the seller. Yes, I want to come to a mutual agreement with the buyer's agent, but at the end of the day, my goal is to get the max amount possible for the property and the best terms in favor to the seller. So when you have a good buyer's agent, they will know how to negotiate and how to negotiate not only the amount but also the terms, so that the buyer and the seller can meet in the middle, meet somewhere like half and half.
Gotcha. And let's go back to the beginning. We said you get calls from buyers and sellers. You just said that, and I noticed because fortunately I do a lot of his deals. You get a lot of sellers agents. Listings. As a listing agent, how does that go? That first experience with that inquiring seller.
Okay, so I'll say there are two types of sellers. There are sellers that reach out to me because of my experience in real estate, and someone told them about me. It was probably you, but someone told them about me, and then they call me and say, "Hey, Hipólito, I heard from someone, Stephen Colon, that you're a great broker, and we want to sell our house because you always get the best value for the property, and many times you sell the property over the market value." So they reach out and they say, we want to sell the home. So the first thing that I do with sellers is I try to educate them, meaning, okay, let's see where we at. Let me do a CMA, right? Sometimes I also have an appraiser on the phone that I can call directly, and they will help me come up with the best value for the property. And I look for the facts, for the comps. How many properties have sold within, let's say, the last 6 months that are similar to the property in square footage, location, and many other things, and taking an average of those properties and coming up with the right value. So pricing of the property is a must. You have to price it correctly. The second thing that I do is I do a search, and sometimes I call you as well, because I need to know, do we have violations? Is there something that is going to hinder the title where we're not going to be able to close because we don't have a clean title? So you want to do that from the get-go. You want to be honest with the seller. You want to say, look, this is what's on the plate right now, and this is what we can do. This is what we can list it for, and this is what we think is going to sell for, and give them a range. And then we go from there. Most sellers up to this point, they're very happy with me. I have been getting over the market value. And the reason, one of the reasons also is because we have many buyers and very low inventory. So that I'll say that's another plus for the seller side that you can explain to them. In many cases, I do find that even that seems to be the truth, that we have low inventory. Sometimes sellers do want to price the house a little more than what it's worth. And those are the deals that don't necessarily work out, I'll say, the best, because we could be on the market for 6 months, a year, and the property is still on the market just because it's overvalued.
Or so you want to, right?
Yeah, it doesn't appraise.
Right. So before you mentioned there were two types of sellers. So first you said they were referred to you by maybe me, and then the other one is how do you get your
the second is I have to say, and I'm gonna mention Zillow again but some people are not so friendly with Zillow,
right?
Even me, but the truth is some people do call me from Zillow,
okay,
because they see that I have sold houses on Zillow. It has my profile, or on Google. There's a profile of me, and I have some some reviews of people saying, okay, this guy did it, right? But of course, I have to pay for that. Right. It's not free. Some agents have to pay for leads, and they attract the seller leads because we have a web page, we have Zillow, we have Google, and we have pay for services that attract the sellers. My other side, I think there's a third one. My other side where I get sellers is we do postcards. We do send out postcards to different homes, especially when they had listed the property before and it couldn't sell for one reason or another. We also reach out to for sale by owners. I do have to say also that some banks have some REOs, and I have a relationship with them as well. And there are many avenues, but the main two are definitely referrals, and the second, the lease that we pay for.
And what is a CMA for the clients watching this video or prospective audience members that don't know what a CMA is?
So a CMA is a comparative market analysis. What we basically do is we look at properties sold for the last 6 months and the price range matching the home that we are ready to list in order to get a price range for this house.
Okay, great. So, but folks, that's pretty much what in order to get a properly priced property, anyone can sit there and say, to get your business. Hey, I'll list your property for $1 million, but if it's not worth $1 million, you're going to be one of these for sale by owner people that maybe missed out on the seller's market because you didn't price it properly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's
One,
great.
one of
Very
the,
important.
I wanted to say one point too. One of the things also is that we have, and this is already proven, is also that when somebody tries to sell the house themselves, without a broker, they usually are getting less money than they would if they use a broker, including with the broker's fee. So someone that's selling on their own usually is a target for investors that want to give a lowball offer, and usually because they don't have the marketing experience and they do not know how to market the property correctly, they usually end up selling it to one of them. And so you do need a broker. I think it's like a layer of protection in a way. Just like you will hire a real estate attorney, you need some type of protection from a professional that knows what they are doing, that is going to market the property correctly and is going to get a better deal. So what happens when the owner is doing it is an owner is not an expert in real estate.
Right.
An owner just has a house.
Right.
That's all. Okay? They do not know about title. They do not know about it's not just title, but they do not know how to, let's say, remove a violation through DOB or HPD, and there are many other aspects that they just not fluent in. So hiring a broker is the right choice because that broker is going to be to make sure that they can rely on someone that knows this information and is going to guide them in the right direction. You know, most of the time when a home buyer is trying to sell the house on their own, it's because they don't want to pay the broker's fee. But it's already proven that even when you pay the broker's fee, you will get more money using a broker than the buyer would if they sell in the house on their own.
I mean, that makes sense. If I was selling, anything in this world, you're going to appeal right to me and say, hey, Steve, come on, man, this is a fair price. But you serve as that buffer to say, I'm not taking, that offer to my client if your client has given you directions like that. So that makes a lot more sense. So I think this has been really informative. Is there anything else that you guys want to address?
I'll do it. So with the buyers, I'll say the buyer's process and the seller's process is a little different. One of the things I usually say also when I'm working with buyers, and this is not just for buyers but also for brokers and agents out there, I always say, for example, in God we trust, everybody else bring proof of funds, right? Which is
That's
funny.
right. That's right.
So what happens is most of the time, and this is directly for buyers, is that if the buyer is not willing to provide some type of approval and proof of funds, then I will not be able to work with the buyer, because what that means is I'm looking for a house, X house, right? And then when I find X house, all the time and energy that I spend goes to waste if that person actually doesn't qualify for that house. So we need to see some type of proof of funds. We need to see that the buyers actually will qualify. And you know what? I also qualify sellers. I do the same thing. Like last week I passed on some listings. Why? Because the sellers wanted to price the house $250,000 over the market value, and I knew it's not possible. I will waste my time trying to address the situation that is not something I can fix. Of course, I keep the relationship and I tell them, listen, when you're ready, just give me a call. But at the end of the day, you have to educate both buyers and sellers so that then when they get to a transaction where they're trying to buy or trying to sell a house, it's realistic. So I'm that type of broker. When someone comes to me, I assess the situation. I determine, is this a relationship that's going to be healthy for me, or is this a relationship where we're going to have a transaction but we're never going to close and it's not going to happen? Is it feasible? Is it possible? And I go from there.
Yeah. Well, I can speak from firsthand knowledge that is stuff that you do. I know that there's been past clients that had challenges and their sales. You went above board and have gotten been in touch with the government agencies trying to remove violations.
Yes.
And that's really helpful because it's actually not your responsibility to do it. It's the sellers. Two, it's not the attorney's responsibility, it's the seller's, but it's good that you actually go above your responsibilities to help your clients out, and that's commendable. Well, anyway, I just wanted to thank you for coming and helping educating our audience, and hopefully you guys have picked up some information. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We're available. Thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying the videos that you've watched today. They're not meant to be a substitution for speaking with your legal professional, but just an educational tool. Thank you.